and I, when we saw this, immediately knew this was bad. There's reasons behind why you and I both were like, this ain't it.
We might be looking at close to 400, 500 hours just editing. That tweet was pretty crazy to read.
A couple of weeks ago, I saw a job posting that I consider to be dangerous. And it's not dangerous in the sense that this is hurting anyone per se. It's more that the more we accept these kind of jobs, we're kind of poisoning the water for everyone else. This job was looking for a video editor to do a 20-minute documentary, and the pay was gonna be anywhere between $100 and $150. And while I technically have not edited a full-on 20-minute documentary, I luckily know people that have. So I wanted to bring on one of my friends, his name is Danny, or Dodford here on YouTube, so we can quickly discuss why both of us, at the time of that job posting, decided to speak up about it and say that this was a bad idea. So sit back, relax, and let's listen to a professional as to why even he would say, as a beginner, this is a terrible job to take.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for coming on the call with me. And part of the reason that I really wanted to talk to you about this was, so like 2 weeks ago, we saw a bad posting on Twitter, which I don't want to mention who it was from or anything, just because I'm not here to really attack the person. It's more just the idea and just to kind of share information with others on why both you and I, when we saw this, immediately knew this was bad. There's reasons behind why you and I both were like, this ain't it. So given that you do documentaries, I did want to talk to you about that. And in case no one knows who you are, can we know a little bit about you?
Yeah, so my name is Danny. I run a channel called Dodford on YouTube, and every month I make a comprehensive documentary. They're called pop culture portraits because they're people I find inspiring in TV, film, music.
What's the real Jim Carrey like?
I don't exist. You're all characters.
I'm losing control.
Including Jim Carrey.
Oh my God, deja vu. Why are we here?
And I ultimately found,
What is this?
that even the me I created wasn't real.
Who the hell is Jim Carrey?
And so they're very highly produced, very highly edited, and they're getting bigger and bigger in scale every time. And as a result, you know, I know what it takes to make something that really feels polished and refined in that documentary style, because I've been doing it for over a year. That tweet was pretty crazy to read.
Well, first of all, what were your first thoughts when you read it? Because for me, it was immediately just like, oh, great. Like, here's another job posting that comes up where, you know, everyone always says that they are looking for like new coming editors, or sometimes they'll mention third party or third world editors. But I feel a lot of those kind of job postings are kind of looking for those that don't even know that they're very skilled and are hoping they can get away with paying so little. So what did you think when you first saw it?
I think my first instinct always is to laugh at it because it almost seems like a joke. It's that ridiculous. To me, it's exploitative. Like, the people who post those types of listings, they can sit there and say, I'm trying to access the type of editor in a different part of the world where this is great money. It just feels exploitative, kind of ugly to be throwing those types of numbers around, thinking that you can get a great service for a bargain, when I think you're just shooting yourself in the foot and you're making yourself look silly. So I thought it was funny at first. He seemed to be doubling down on it. I think I was going through the comments and seeing that he really couldn't see why that was a problem. But I think then I returned to it a few days later, and he had, I mean, after the whole of Twitter, had learned his lesson, but there's no way of knowing.
Yeah, because I saw that too, and I wasn't sure when I read that update from him where he's kind of like, after some reflection, and it kind of put him in a bad mindset that he realized, like, okay, maybe I'll pay more. But I noticed that there were also some comments where people are like, they were essentially saying like, well, don't they know that this is the market? Don't they know that this is for up and coming editors? Which, whether you're new, whether you want to pay your dues, I always feel like people still look for ways to take advantage of those hungry people by saying this is a starting rate. But at the same time, they want to kill their editor to exploit for as long as they can. And the second I feel those editors will be like, you know what, I did a great job, I want more, they're going to be like, I'll go find someone else.
That's why I think it's exploitative. I don't think these people actually want a great editor on their team to work, as a teammate. And instead, they just want a service completed. There's a different thing there as to having an editor on your team who you trust each other and grow together, to having a video that needs to be edited and completed, and that's one task that they're constantly cycling through. Like, okay, I need this done. Doesn't matter who it's by. How can I get it done the cheapest way? That's two different approaches to growing your business. And if you like, if I do it myself, I have my own team now, and I've always from the start prioritized making sure that the people around me, we're all on the same wavelength. We all want to grow together, and every single time, immediately there's an opportunity to pay the people on my team a bit more, I've taken it, because I think there's more value in making sure people are happy to be around you and you're all invested in the same outcome, as opposed to just treating it on a singular basis of, this is a project I need to complete. How do I get it done as soon as possible and at the smallest price? And then you just reset the next time around, and so you've got no sense of future, no forward thinking. It's just you're going to end up treading on toes and screwing people over and over again, and it's going to, like I said, just going to shoot themselves in the face.
And what would you say though for people that are looking, that they were like, you know what, I'm going to take this job because I need something, which I feel like, to the sentiment of that, I can understand, because I was exactly in that position years ago. But given again that you do primarily do this, what do you think of those people that want to do it?
I mean, yeah, of course, I understand that sense of feeling like you need to just take anything you can get. My personal opinion is I don't think that should ever be the case, in the sense that you are going to willingly put yourself through hell, and pour in potentially over 100 plus hours into a project for pennies. That's not a situation that you should be getting into. And if you know how to do the right things and how to market yourself and how to find the right clients, for me, a lot of the risk I took as an editor coming up was having those opportunities on one side of like, okay, I just need to make some money editing, as experience as just something to keep me going. But they were really underpaid jobs for clients that I didn't get on with that well, I didn't like, or the opportunity to just focus on my own personal projects and say, okay, sod it, I'm going to just use my savings and not make any money, not guarantee any money for the next month or so, and just see what happens working on my own project, marketing myself, building up a online portfolio that the whole world can see, as opposed to just doing one project for this client that doesn't get any recognition worldwide. There's maybe not even a credit attached to your name. You make a little bit of money, and you made a tiny bit of experience doing it. The success that you gain from that just doesn't compare to the risk that you are taking when you're not getting that money immediately from a client, but you are working on different skills and building up a portfolio and gaining experience doing multiple different projects for your own, and therefore cultivating what your vision and your taste is. If you do that, that's the way I did it. It attracts the clients who will respect you and have a bit more money to throw around, as opposed to jumping from one crappy client to another where you get no credit, you get a little bit, very low money, low recognition, and not as much experience as you should. But if you've got yourself out there, you're not going to earn as much from the very, very beginning. But then as soon as your face is out there and people know you and there's a reputation about how you edit, then everything is just going to fall into place. And if you can do that, then you should be avoiding these types of desperate jobs for people who don't respect you.
Because of how long documentaries can take. I don't think also people understand the scale of that. How about for you? I've seen that you've done videos that are over 20 minutes, and this posting said at minimum it was going to be 20 minutes long. Regardless of how polished or unpolished this guy was claiming he wanted it to be, how long does it even take you and your team to do one?
Yeah. Well, I'll start by saying a lot of the problem here isn't so much from the editor's problem to solve. This is a client, a creator, YouTube mindset that needs to be fixed from the other side. And so these types of creators who say, I need a 20-minute plus video done, and it needs to be in this style, they have no experience in what it takes to actually make that themselves and be in the other seat. And therefore they're throwing out these rudimentary things, like, I want a 20-minute long video. Why? What difference does it make in 20 minutes in the length? That's just something I want it to. They don't know why they want to, and if they had a good editor who was going to try help make the best video they can, then that might evolve into a different length. I went on a tangent there, but pretty much what I'm saying, it's the creator just needs to have a bit more empathy and experience being in the other perspective. For me, it's hard to say. I think in the edit, we might be looking at close to 400, 500 hours just editing, but that doesn't include all the research and scripting and writing when we're pushing up to closer to 1,000 hours then per project. The creator who has no experience doing it themselves, they have no idea what it takes to make that and why that number can be that high. You can't just throw around the style of something, a style of this creator at this length, because they don't know what it took for that to exist into the real world. They're just saying, I want this done for this. And there's a real lack of empathy from the creator to the editor there, because it's just a lack of knowledge. Like, I feel like there needs to be more education on specifically how and why these things take a long time, and then you can't just reap the benefits of someone else's hard work that's out there and then just say, okay, I want to try and do that for myself, because it won't work.
I agree with you. There's a lot of times where people will ask me too, whenever they want to work with me, it's like, I want a video like this guy, or I heard you work with Noah Kagan. I really want to do a video like Noah. But a part of me is like, well, do you even know why you're trying to do that? Do you even know what you're making? And then also, what is it about Noah? Like, the reason Noah's length sometimes is what it is because that's how long it took to tell the exact message that he's trying to portray. You can't just put a time limit on things without knowing the reason for it. And I think that's kind of what you're saying, right?
Yeah, it's just a rudimentary thing. It's like they're trying to copycat the type of length and style and vibe of a different creation and then you can't just copy and paste that length, because the length is just however long it takes to tell that story, and just saying, throwing a number out like that and saying length, that then puts the editor in a box of another thing to solve, or maybe the video they've been given doesn't quite match the length that they've been told to complete it at that length. It doesn't make sense. It's just another thing for the editor to tackle and work out, when instead, if the creator was to bring in someone who they trust and they want the video to evolve in the same, on the same wavelength in a collaboration, then that just guarantees the video will come out in the best possible form, as opposed to just filling these quotas that don't exist for a reason.
For people that kind of are going to say like, well, look, again, it's easy for you and I to say all this because we already have a career that started. But I think people forget that the reason I make and have these conversations, it isn't for every professional out there. It's for also the little guy that wants to get big. So what I'm asking you now is, what's probably some of your best ways you think that people should navigate conversations like this when they come up, where someone's offering them $100 to do this big project and they feel they have to take it?
I mean, I can't sit here and predict the human behavior that these YouTubers and creators might say, but I wish I could instill just something in these people, in like young, upcoming editors, who it really just comes down to knowing your value and having something to prove it with. I really just, every single time I talk about editing, I say how important it is to have a public facing portfolio, something that really reveals, and showcases every little tiny thing that you can do. Because then if someone says, no, I don't feel like I want to pay you that much, one, you can just say, well, look, I got all this stuff, look how good I can edit. Or two, it means that if someone really doesn't want to pay you, then just say, okay, screw you, I'll move on, because you can feel confident that you have that you're constantly selling yourself, because new people are seeing the stuff that's already out there that exists. Doing that and having this existing portfolio, this database of your strengths in one neat, tidy package and home, whether it's a social media account, a YouTube, a TikTok, a website, whatever, as opposed to just your strengths kind of getting thrown out into the world, into these tiny little pockets, hidden, they're everywhere. But it's harder to track you down from that. Make sure that you are working on doing something different every day, working on your individual strengths, building them up, and then putting it all together in one place that people can see.
And that's basically what I'm trying to do with my channel as well. And that's one of the biggest pieces of advice I try to give a lot of people as well, is like, you don't have to necessarily need to immediately jump into client work if you're trying to be an editor, because it took me like maybe like 8 years of making my own stuff till someone was like, hey, this guy has some kind of skill. Let's see what we can do together. What would you say to them that potentially want to work with you? Like if someone was like, I want to work for someone like a Dodford, what are some things you feel they should look out for, or things they should do to put themselves in the better position for that?
Okay, well, to edit, if someone came to me and says, I want to work as an editor on my channel, I think one thing that I would be actively looking for and be happy to see is someone who's paid enough attention to the videos that I post to see where maybe I'm slacking. You know, I'm far from a perfect editor, and there's lots of things that I struggle with. And if someone can see where those dips in my strengths lie and have an answer to that problem, and they can solve it with their own skills, you know, that's what a team should be. It's, you know, you work, you know, it's pieces of a puzzle that's coming in, forming a larger picture. I don't need someone to come in and complete exactly like my style. I'm looking for something different. I'm looking for something that I can't do as well, that someone else can improve the larger idea. So that's the type of thing that I would want someone to come and help me with. See, it's hard for me to sum it up because it really is an instinct thing. You know, it's an instinctual thing that I think that's something that just has to come after consuming as many stories as you possibly can, and having just this like unconscious thing that pulls you towards a direction. It's not something that really you can study and analyze and repeat. It's just every single time I go into an edit, it's a fresh new feeling. I just let my emotions dictate me, you know. And so maybe that's a type of, you know, being in touch with how you feel and how you want others to feel is something that's less about the technicalities of learning how to edit and more so just human nature and being, you know, understanding what other people are thinking, what you want other people to think, how you feel, how you can slightly manipulate your own emotions just by dragging things out, etc. You know, those little things. So I guess to answer your question, you know, watch my videos and just pay less attention to the intricacies of how I edit and more about how you're feeling, and then kind of reverse engineer that into why I've made those decisions, because it's different every time. You know, there is a visual style to my editing, but the way it's being told changes every single time.
No, I think that's beautiful. And then that's the thing too when it comes to certain kinds of styles of editing is, and I think you said it best already, where for some content there isn't a blueprint and there isn't a one size fits all. Every artist, because I feel like a lot of us that are in the creative space and also editors are artists at heart, because we want to create something to share with the world. And you can't teach someone that kind of creativity, but you can show them so they can slowly start to learn how to do that. It'd be similar when someone's like, why does Tom edit, or why do we edit for Tom a certain way? Or why does Noah Kagan have a certain feeling? That comes over time. You know, Noah didn't wake up knowing, I'm going to cut like this, B-roll like this, you know, like no one does that. What you do is you find it through experimentation. So I think overall with what you're saying, I agree with, because again, even with my own content, there's just a feeling of being proud of what I made that I can't teach someone, but I hope someone can see it and understand why I'm making those decisions. Because with some of the stuff you've made, man, that I've seen, and I've seen like probably 5 of your videos at this point, I don't even understand how you start that kind of a process, because I've never done that, but I think the way you do it is very beautiful. So you and your team, you guys are crushing it. I think you guys do great work.
Thank you, Tony. I appreciate that. Yeah, very beautiful what you just said.
Oh, you know what? Just like a fun thing at the end here, just because I'm curious, what does Dodford mean? How did you get that name?
Dodford was always my username as a child growing up, because I grew up on Dodford Lane, which was my childhood street name.
Hopefully after our conversation, you guys are better equipped now with a little bit more knowledge as to why a lot of us professionals can see something like this very easily and just say that this is not worth anybody's time. I think conversation alone and better knowledge is a better way that all of us can make the online space feel a little more, I guess you can say, professional. And that's kind of the goal of everything that I'm trying to do now. So if you guys like this video, please give it a like, and then also feel free to leave a comment if you have any other questions, or if there's another video you would like me to make similar to this, so that way I can try to see if I can get another professional friend of mine onto these videos and ideally give you guys better information. If you want to keep up to date with anything that I'm doing, feel free to follow me on Twitter. I am posting more on Instagram, which is great. And other than that, I'll see you guys in my next video.